we interviewed Dr. Rackley about her new position, what she will miss, and what she has learned from her experiences at the middle school.
This is my 13th year as the principal at Cedar Crest Middle School, and my 21st in the building because I taught here also. So I taught here for 7, I was an assistant principal for 1, and this is my 13th year as a building principal. So some highlights I think from the last 13 years. I would definitely say Minithon is a highlight for us because we started Minithon my first year as principal. I also think that Falcons Care is a big highlight for us. And newer, more recently, we have our creativity lab, our STEM lab, our brand new Fab lab for our 7th grade specials. And so I think those are all really new creative things that we've done here that have a huge impact on our students and our student learning and the things they're able to do at the middle school that just we've made space to happen. So I've always told people I think my biggest responsibility as a principal is to make space for the teachers and students to make the magic happen. It was my job to just make sure that everything else, all the distractions got out of the way so that we could do amazing things here. So if you think about it when you guys were here, you know, BizTown, the Washington DC trip, Kenbrook, those are things that had been established before I got here, but just the ability to keep some of those great things going to provide as many opportunities as we could for our students. I think it's important that families see what happens in our schools. I think, and I say that not only as a principal or a teacher, but also as a mom. Like I love when I get to see little snapshots into what's happening with my own students or my own kids. So I think it's great when we can make those connections for families and let them really see who we are and what we're about and just have that really open dialogue with families. And I think that our use of social media has allowed us to do that, to really provide families with the ins and outs, because I think that it's just great when they know what's happening. You know, we want to have them involved, we want to include them, and so when we can bring them in or include them in some way, it's awesome. I love Minithon reveal time, right, because I think there's this very empowering concept about kids helping kids, right? When we talk about FTK and being for the kids, it's really about teaching our middle schoolers that they can have an impact on their greater world, on the community. It's not just about them, it's not just about these 4 walls here at our school, it's about impacting everyone. And so I think that some of my fondest memories are probably Minithon, Diamond Dash, having those moments, or even through Falcons Care, where we're having those moments where our kiddos are interacting with our community and recognizing the role they play and how important it is for them to be part of society, part of the world outside of Cedar Crest Middle School. So I feel like anytime we're having those kinds of conversations, whether it's Minithon or Falcons Care or having our community come in and visit us or us going out into our community, I think those are really great moments. Anytime you see us doing Pink Out, you know, we did our Purple Out for cystic fibrosis in January. Anytime we're raising that awareness and talking about how we as middle schoolers, as a school, can impact our world, I think that those are probably my favorite memories. Yeah, it's exciting to have a position like this that's really going to be focused on teaching and learning. So over time, you know, our previous structure was we had a director of elementary education and a director of secondary education. And now with Dr. Clemens' retirement, we're going to move to this new role with a director of curriculum and instruction. And so our focus is really going to be on teaching and learning. It'll also be on professional learning for our staff. And so right now our staff has the opportunity to do something we call our Falcon Flex model, which is their professional learning time. And that will be part of this new role as well. There's other pieces to the role. There's a data piece. So I really like data, I like getting into the data and looking at what data tells us and making good decisions based on what we see with the data, as well as taking care of federal programs, which is another important part of this new role. So I think I said earlier, like I love learning. I love learning and growing. So I think the two pieces I would say I'm most excited about are the teaching and learning pieces. So teaching and learning in our curriculum with our students, and then teaching and learning with our staff and with our adults. Because I think, again, that when you're learning and growing, you're continuing to improve yourself, and when you're able to stop and have those opportunities to choose your own learning. So we provide agency for teachers too through this Falcon Flex model, where teachers have the opportunity to choose the professional learning that they think will be most relevant to them, most meaningful, whether it's specific to their content area or specific to their grade levels or specific to just maybe their own personal interests. And so I think giving teachers the opportunity to do that allows them then to turn around and give their students that same opportunity to have some choice and have some agency and have a voice in what they're thinking and learning. So I think for me, making sure that we're providing good, robust professional development, professional learning opportunities for our staff, that's huge. And then being able to translate that into our teaching and learning, into our curriculum for our students is so exciting to me. I've always loved curriculum. I always hoped that my next step after being a principal was going to be in curriculum, and so this is very exciting. I think that anytime you take on something new, there's lots of worries, right? Lots of things you have to learn. And so I think if there was a worry, I would say my worry is just trying to learn it all. You know, there's rules about federal programs, there's rules about PIMS, there's rules about data, there's lots of rules and things you have to do and requirements you have, deadlines you have, grants you have to write, things that have to get done. And so I think the challenge is going to be just learning all of the new rules that as a principal I don't necessarily have the same exposure to. So, but I'm excited to do it. I'm excited for the new challenge. I'm excited to try basically a new adventure on the journey for me and for my family. And so it's an exciting time. And so I would say that there's definitely some nerves about, you know, learning along the way. But I think that for me, you know, I rely a lot on the fact that, you know, we'll build relationships and we'll walk on the journey together. This isn't a journey that anyone walks by themselves. And here at Cedar Crest, we're so blessed with this amazing group of students and staff and community. And so I've always felt very supported here as a principal, and I think that we'll continue to do that together. You know, it's a journey, you know, that I absolutely expect that, you know, there'll be conversations with staff, there'll be conversations with students, there'll be conversations with parents and community members and business owners, and because I think that all plays into what we do. So I'm excited about that part. So leaving the role where you're close to students, I think is probably one of the hardest pieces to this for me. But I think, like anything, being a principal, you have to be intentional with your time. You can get overrun by paperwork and obligations and meetings and other things you need to do. And so you need to be intentional about the time you take to be with students. So you have to be intentional about being in the hallway or being in the lunchroom. You have to be intentional about popping in and out of classes and interacting with kiddos and showing up at drama and concerts and sporting events and mini-thon and just being present. And so I think that even in this new role, there's time to be intentional and interact with students. And I'm excited because this new role will take me not just to one building, but to 6 different buildings. So it'll be great, I think, that I can walk through the halls in the high school and interact with former students and, you know, pop into the middle school and see students I know here, and then have the opportunity to meet new kiddos and new families in the elementary schools. And so I think there's an intentionality piece about if you're intentional with your time, you can still have those interactions, but there'll be less, and that will be different, and that'll be hard and sad, I think, but I think that you can still be involved and still, you know, make that effort. In 2018, I was named one of the NASSP Digital Principals of the Year. There were 3 of us, and it has been an incredible experience, life-changing for sure, to meet and interact with some of the most incredible thought leaders and educational leaders and principals and superintendents and other roles that they've all moved on to. But it's been just phenomenal to interact with them, to learn from them, to call them my friends, to know that there's a network out there. So when I need help or run into a problem or have a question, like, there's this whole big network of friends I have that I can reach out to and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or I ran into this. Has anyone else seen this? And I think that will continue in my new role. So I think having that support system is just incredible. But in terms of communicating with families, I love the way we're able to communicate with families on social media. I think it's so important. But again, to be able to communicate out to families, to be able to spend time with them, one of our goals is always to meet students and families where they are, and one of the places they are is they're on social media, because I think those are important pieces too. You know, I think one of the things that I love that I haven't talked about yet is I love Falcon Friday. I love this idea that as a community we can come together and you wear blue and gray on Fridays, and it's not about dressing up or dressing down, or it's not about what you wear, but it's just about being unified in this belief that we're all Falcons and on Fridays we all kind of come together and have that time in that moment. Because I think those things bring us together. We're more similar than different, and there are a lot of pieces that bring us together and lots of pieces that make us who we are. And when we talk about we are Cedar Crest, or when we talk about our hashtags like Falcon Life or Falcon Pride, like those are important pieces that make us who we are and make it part of the conversation. So I definitely hope to use social media to continue communicating with families, whether it's those intentional opportunities of being in schools and being around students, or whether it's about talking about conversations or activities or sharing events and information that we're using here in the district. So I'm very excited about that. One thing I definitely would like to say is I would love to thank all of our Falcon families, everyone at Cedar Crest Middle School. These 21 years have been amazing. Amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better place to learn and grow, to raise my family, to grow up myself. I started here as a 22-year-old college graduate, and the sense of community and the sense of family, and I've always felt like this was my home. And so I've been so lucky and so fortunate to grow up here with our families, with our parents, with our teachers and our community, and so I couldn't have asked for a better 21 years to start my teaching career.